To me, I feel like this was a spiritual thing. These are four guys that were supposed to get together. Musically, we couldn't do no wrong. Everybody vibed off each other. You know, musically, if somebody does something, the other guy would jump on it and blah, blah, blah. I would say this, it was a match made in heaven. He can't boogie now.
From their own albums to those of other artists, many of whom Alan Toussaint produced, this band shaped New Orleans funk. This group's funk was down home and earthy, as opposed to Sly Stone's and James Brown's wild, careening, and determinedly urban style. Almost all of their own records were instrumental, with an emphasis on organic and intricate rhythms. The syncopated, layered percussion mixed with the gritty grooves of the guitar and organ, resulting in a distinct sound that acquired a tiny, loyal following in the 1970s. The centerpiece of today's video is all about the meters. Now before we start, let's be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and push that notification bell to be sure you won't miss out on any more content. Now, without further ado, let's cue that intro. One of the most prominent members of the New Orleans music scene, Art Neville, consistently served as the Meters' lead singer throughout their career. As a high school student, he recorded the legendary Mardi Gras Mambo with his band, the Hawkins, for Chess Records. His exposure with the Hawkins led to solo contracts with Specialty and Instant, where he issued a few singles that became regional hits in the early 1960s. Around 1966, he established Art Neville the Sounds, which featured his brothers Aaron and Charles on vocals, guitarist Leo Nocentelli, drummer Joseph Mataliste, and bassist George Porter. The band began as informal jam sessions in local New Orleans bars. After a few months of playing under the name The Sounds, producer Alan Toussaint and Marshall C. Horn engaged the group as the house band for their label Sansel Enterprises. The Meters served as Sansa's house band, performing on albums by Earl King, Lee Dorsey, Chris Kenner, Betty Harris, and Toussaint himself. They also performed and recorded independently, releasing danceable instrumental singles through Josie Records, Sophisticated Sissy, and Sissy Strut. Were top 10 R&B successes in the spring of 1969, followed by the number 11 songs Look K Pie Pie, and Chicken Strut a year later. The Meters lasted at Josie until 1972, when they constantly entered the R&B top 50, usually in the top 40. The group switched to Reprise Records in 1972, but they kept Toussaint as producer and Cian as manager rather than parting ways with Sansu. Ironically, the Meters did not have nearly as many hit singles with Reprise, but their popularity remained incredibly strong. If anything, the group became more hip, performing on albums by Robert Palmer, Dr. John, La Belle, King Biscuit Boy, and Paul McCartney. By the time Fire on the Bayou was released in 1975, the Meters had a top 40 hit with Rejuvenations, Hey Pocky Away, and they had garnered a substantial following among rock audiences and reviewers. Fire on the Bayou earned high accolades, and the group opened for the Rolling Stones on their 1975 and 1976 tours. The Meters began the Wild Chupatulas project in 1975, working with Art's uncle and a cousin, George and Amos Landry, two members of the Wild Chupatulas, a Mardi Gras ceremonial black Indian clan. The Meters, the Landrys, and the Neville brothers Aaron, Charles, Art, and Cyril were all engaged in the making of the album, which was released in 1976 to favorable acclaim. Cyril joined the Meters following the album's release. Despite its wide praise, the Wild Chupatulas' exploratory tendencies suggested that the band was feeling confined by its characteristic sound. Such suspicions were reinforced the following year, when they broke up from Toussaint and Seahorn, claiming they needed to take control of their artistic path. Following the breakup, the Meters released New Directions in 1977, but shortly after its release, Toussaint and Seahorn claimed the group's identity. Instead of fighting, the band disbanded, with Art and Cyril creating the Neville Brothers with Aaron and Charles and the surviving trio becoming studio musicians in New Orleans. The Meters reformed as a touring band in 1990, with Russell Batiste taking up drum duties from MOTOWN. 4 years later, UNSUNG Tilly departed the band, apparently because he and Art argued on whether the band should be compensated for samples taken from hip-hop groups' previous songs. He was succeeded by Brian Stoltz, who had previously played with the Neville Brothers. The band was dubbed the Funky Meters. They were known as the Funky Meters as early as 1989. When they performed in a small place called Benny's Bar on Valence and Camp Streets in New Orleans, they were billed accordingly. The Meters continued to tour throughout the 1990s. The Funky Meters continued to perform throughout the 2000s, with Stoltz replaced by Ian Neville, Art Neville's son, from 2007 until 2011 as Stoltz explored a solo career. Stoltz rejoined the band in 2011. In June 2011, the original Meters, Alan Toussaint and Dr. John performed at the Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival in Manchester, Tennessee. The 6 men performed songs from Dr. John's album Deceptively Bonnaroo, which was originally recorded with the Meters before a sold-out audience. The original Meters also performed at the 2011 Voodoo Experience in New Orleans. On May 5th, 2012, the Meters returned to New Orleans for a sold-out show at the Howlin' Wolf. In late 2012, Zigaboo Modelisti, Leo Nocentelli, and George Porter Jr. performed as the Meter Men alongside Fish keyboardist Paige McConnell. During his time away from Fish, McConnell has continued to perform alongside Porter Jr., Nocentelli, and Modelisti as the Meter Men since those gigs in 2012. As of April 2015, the Meter Men had performed 16 gigs together, including their 3rd annual participation as a late-night act at New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. The Meter Men made their 2nd visit as a late-night performance during Jazz Fest in 2014, performing at the Republic on April 26, 2014, after McConnell headlined the NOLA Jazz Fest at the New Orleans Fairgrounds with Fish the day before. As of spring 2015, the Meter Men has performed in Massachusetts, New York, Florida, Pennsylvania, Louisiana, Colorado, and Vermont. They also gave a performance in Washington, D.C. As of 2017, the Funky Meters Tour constantly performs the Meters songs, whereas the Meters only perform sometimes. To prevent confusion with the Funky Meters, Neville, Porter, Nocentelli, and Modelisti commonly refer to themselves as the original Meters. When not performing with the original Meters, guitarist Leo Nocentelli leads his own group, the Meters Experience, which performs the Meters music. As of 2018, the most recent performance of the original Meters with all 4 of the founding members was at the Arroyo Seco Festival in Pasadena, California on June 25th, 2017. The song, They All Ask Ye For You, from the 1975 album Fire on the Bahia remains popular in the New Orleans region and is the unofficial theme song of the Audubon Zoo. Art Neville announced his retirement from music on December 18, 2018. On July 22nd, 2019, Neville passed away. Now, before we go, I have a question for you all. What is your favorite song from the Meters?